Satori Mateu. Welcome to another Walk and Talk with me. Let's go. Do you feel like something is missing? Do you feel like something you're going through and you're looking for answers, and you're looking for answers everywhere? I know I have many times. I've been a personal development junkie, looking for answers everywhere, looking for ways to be more happy, to find out what's wrong with me, to find some kind of inspiration. Listen, I gotta tell you something. I don't know how many times I've read books, I've gone to courses, I've watched videos, like for hours, and I could consume content for days and months and years. I still do consume stuff, but I'm very, very selective, very, very picky on what I listen to. And here's why. You see, most teachings out there are teaching you one-sided world, a one-sided life, a one-sided perspective. And that one-sided perspective, it literally puts you in a fantasy. I don't know about you, but how many times have you heard people say, I gotta be more positive, or I'm so positive? No, you have both sides. You can be positive and you can be negative. You can be up, you can be down. You can be sad, you can be happy, right? You can be angry and you can be loving. You can be appreciative and you can be unappreciative, right? You can be generous and you can be stingy. You can be all of it, and you will always have all of it. Don't go into the fantasy thinking that you will be only one side. Here's the problem with that. For so many times, for so many years, I was working very, very hard to be positive, to be empowered, to be strong, to try to be this one-sided person. And the dilemma with that is that it created a lot of pressure, because anytime I couldn't achieve that, I would beat the shit out of myself. I would be judging myself and criticizing myself and feel bad about it. I would go to a seminar, for 3-4 days and be all like hyped up and be excited, and now life is gonna change. Then I come home to my environment, and in that environment, I couldn't keep up that state. I couldn't keep up that energy. So then I started thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing things right? Why all these people, look at that person, that guru on stage here, being so, positive all the time. And I just want you to understand that it's an illusion. It's a fantasy. That person on stage is not always up, always inspired, always happy, always smiling. That is not the truth. I don't know whether you've been in personal development for years, or if you're just starting the journey, if you're just starting the growth process of wanting to explore and expand yourself. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I'm all about growth. But I'm not about fantasy. I'm not about giving you an illusion that life is only one way and not the other way. And the reason to that is because we keep searching for that one-sided world, thinking that is the way. And when that happens, you get into a place where you feel disappointed, and you get into a place where you're searching for an imbalanced perspective, because life has both sides. You cannot just have one side. And when you start understanding this, like really understand it, you're looking for a balance of perspectives, not just chasing one side. And let me give you an example of that. I've had many people, and myself included, working to, I'm really want to be more positive. And as I'm chasing that one-sided world, the moment I'm not that, I'm going to judge myself and criticize myself for not being there. So when I go to the other side of the spectrum, I'm disappointed and sad, and I feel bad about myself. And then I work really hard for being on this side, trying to get back to that side. And it's exhausting. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know that what I'm talking about is true. Because you realize that you've been playing that yo-yo game with yourself, right? And it creates a lot of exhaustion, friction. Instead, understand that you do have both sides. Life has everything. And so instead of trying to eliminate half of you, find a way to embrace all of you. And when you embrace all of you and you start appreciating and understanding that everything has in a moment an opportunity to learn something of value, you can feel more, you can actually start feeling more peaceful, but from a place where you're not chasing that one side, from a place that you're embracing all of you, where you're not being ashamed, where you're not giving yourself guilt or beating yourself up for not being just that one side. Okay? So I hope this was valuable. I hope this gives you some thought or perspective. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to be thinking about?
I thought about one thing. Well, first of all, when I started like really getting into personal development, like which wasn't that long ago, I started listening to all of these podcasts, and luckily for me, I had you to talk to about the things that I was thinking about when I listened to this podcast, because actually it was strange, because I remember I was on a walk and I was listening to this podcast, and then I actually called you and we were talking on the phone, and I said, but I've been listening to all of this stuff, and I actually feel anxiety now. And so you told me about this thing that a lot of people are, whether they know it, they're doing it consciously or not, they're selling you on this one-sided like way of thinking that you should be only this and not that. And it made so much sense, and it was such a huge like relief for me that like, yeah, because that's what I was hearing in the podcast, that I should be this, and like even if they didn't say that like that, it was still like embedded in what they talked about. And
by the way, if you don't know who's talking right now, it's Linnea talking in the background, and you will see more of her. Right now we're just having this conversation, but I totally agree, and I remember when you said that, because here's the thing, is like the person teaching this stuff, they're stuck themselves in the one-sided world. They actually have the erroneous, the wrong thinking that life is only this side. And think about, it's like it's a chasing that one-sided world. And so then when they start teaching this stuff, they start teaching it from that one perspective. And maybe in that time of their life, in that moment when they're teaching this thing, like right now, this is a moment. Right now, we're right here, right now, you're listening to this right now, we're in this moment. And I am in my head about this topic right now. So just like them, they're in their head about being positive. So they try to transmit that information to you, but it's incomplete information. So then when they think that you have to be this way, and they think about it and they teach about it, like you should be this, or you should be that. And at the end of the day, it's an incomplete picture. So when you think of that, you feel disappointed when you can't upkeep it all the time.
I just thought about one more thing about that, because this is really critical, because if you really think about it, you're already okay with a part of you that's inspired, that's positive. You are already okay with that side, so that's not your problem that you have to be more of that, because you already own that side of you. And so that made me think about an episode of your podcast. I think it's called Own Your Dark Side, or something like that. I think if they want to know more about this, I think really it just popped up into my mind now that episode, like they should really listen to that.
Yes, go to Halfass to Badass and listen to the podcast. What is it called again, the episode?
I don't know exactly, but I think it's called Own Your Dark Side.
Okay, something like that. You'll find it. Otherwise, just listen from the beginning to the end, and you'll find something important to listen to.
Or we can put like the text in the bio, or wherever we are posting this video. We can link to that episode if you want to know more.
Okay, so that's a little tip for the day. Start embracing and owning all of you rather than half of you, because that way you will actually find real fulfillment, real inspiration from inside, instead of trying to find motivation from the outside. Right? When you inspire from the inside, it's like you are pursuing the things that you value. You're pursuing and you're embracing, you're appreciating yourself. Because how can you enjoy your life if you walk around judging, criticizing, disowning, and being pissed off at half of you because you think that you should be that side and not that side, right? I mean, that's kind of silly, don't you think? So when you start embracing all of you, you start finding real appreciation, real gratitude, And that's when your life changes. So, see you later.
I can't stay.